Yo, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Rell here, Rell TV. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna be giving you guys a lot of content, a lot of things going on in the world. So we want to share, give you a little backstory again. I'm an artist, producer, business owner, and so over the years I got a lot of insight and some things that I've learned, and I just want to share with the people out there. This is our first episode, official episode of the Rell Live TV show. I'm very honored to have my guest here, my big brother, Eternal.
Peace,
You know
peace,
what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Much respect, much
My
love. Make
pleasure.
sure y'all go and subscribe to his platform. I'll let him kick it off and tell you where you can find him at before we get into tonight's build. E, please.
Yeah, this is Eternal Bilal. Rell is my brother. He's the super king. I ride out to the end with him, and we talk about abstract, metaphysical things, relevant things. No foolery around here. So it's always about ascension and building the mind. Topics that are very relevant, and I'm grateful to be on this platform.
Absolutely. Thank you for, of course, being on it. Make sure y'all subscribe to his channel as well. Deeply honored to have him here. So I want to get right into it, man. There's a lot of things going on. And just for the people outside, we want to address the power of words and the power of where we're at as a culture and the words that we use, the things that we say to each other, and what we speak upon each other. And not only that, the power of words in business, in regards to contracts, in regards to constructs, in regards to all of the things that we deal with as, people on this earth. So I wanted to also get into words in regards to our culture. We're a hip-hop culture, we're rap kids, we're a culture based and rooted in hip-hop, which is global. And, hip-hop, one of the foundations, of course, is rap. And these are things that regard and include words, the uses of words. So, man, I want to kind of just address just certain things in regards to how we deal with each other and what we speak upon each other. And we're all guilty of it because we participate in it. We have a culture where a lot of the times we're really not mindful of the impact on what we say to each other. Mm-hmm. And not just in confrontation, but more so when there's no confrontation. What we say to each other, how we deliver things. I know I'm guilty of it. I've said certain things that I regret. I've said certain things that destroyed people. You understand? And that's something that is a constant battle because, as you know, we grew up in a system where it really wasn't conducive to us being enlightened people. So sometimes, when we speak negative things upon each other. So I'm guilty of it. But I wanted to talk in terms of the power and the vibration that words hold from a metaphysical lens. And really dissect it, unpack it, and break it down. So I would love for you to kick that one off for me.
Thank you. So, the power of the spoken word. Words are vibratory. In the beginning it was the word. So word is sound. The mind is controlled through sound and visual. So whoever controls sound and visual controls the mind. So words paint pictures. We think in terms of pictures or pictograms. So everything is a pictogram. If I say McDonald's, if I say KFC, if I say Madison Square Garden, right? Certain imagery pops up in your mind. The lettering and the spelling don't pop up, but the imagery pops up and it evokes emotions in you. The word, how the word is used. Every cell in your body is paying attention to the vibratory state of that word and the context that it's used in. And the imagery and the vibration that it creates in a room. The imagery in the minds of the observer and the vibratory state. This is why when you walk in a room, you be like, yo, I felt that vibe, right? And the power of sound, even 85% communication is nonverbal. Sometimes, even if you don't say it, it's still felt. Some people call that I think it's called telekinesis. Some people call it different things, but at the end of the day, when you speak, the vibratory word through the mouth and the tongue, you begin to cut up words. You're cutting up different your voice box, and you're cutting it up into words, and those words hold power and create images and pictograms in the mind of everyone. When you're listening to music, that whole visual aspect comes into play, and the cells respond to the word. So that's my quick breakdown of it.
Right. Definitely agree with you. It's resonance. Word is attached to resonance. So I want people to think of what it looks like when you vibrate water. So you ever seen how water ripples?
Yeah.
If we're 80% water and we add sound, which allows electromagnetic current for this water to actually ripple. I don't want to get too deep into it.
Yes.
On a scientific level, that's exactly what happens to us. That's why you can receive a word from a negative place. Someone can deliver a word to you from a negative place, and you can feel that vibration in water. It's actually your current internally rippling.
Facts.
Because it's being disturbed.
Facts.
So to speak. And the interesting thing about words is that we use a dead language. So the dead language is English, meaning that there's no full expression of any word that can explain something. So by that logic, if there's no one set definition that can explain something, you'll really never get to truth. You'll only get caught up in the signs or the signals, which are the words. And words associated to the vibration creates the vibes that we give out to each other using words. I also want to really dissect how words are used in contract and in business, and how we, being people of the United States of America, are in contract via the birth certificate and social security number, which is the human form of the EIN number. However, we don't understand the legal jargon or the verbs or words, nouns, pronouns, adjectives, so forth and so on, that is associated with our person in contract with the United States of America, by way of the birth certificate. I would love for you to just give a little detail in terms of contractual positioning with the United States of America as a human being.
1930, the birth certificate, I think that's when it came into play. FDR brought it in. This country has been bankrupt and insolvent since 1871. So now when 1930 came, fast forward, they had to connect you to the corporation.
Right.
So the birth certificate got manifested, and those certificates, if I remember correctly, is it the Social Security or the birth certificate? Which one gets sent to the Federal Reserve? I'm trying to remember.
Well, it's the Social Security number via EIN number for tax purposes, because the Federal Reserve is directly linked with the Internal Revenue Service.
Right, which 1913.
Right. The birth certificate is the ownership of person.
Person, correct.
Because when you give birth, remember, birth is based on maritime law.
Right.
Y'all got a lot of Googling to do.
Yeah. So, these,
such as a ship or a vessel.
Yes.
Maritime law.
Maritime law.
Birth. BERTH.
Yes. So these things were being done under our noses, and the majority of the masses don't really have no true education on it. So, when you speak in a dead letter language and you're trying to arrive at these hidden agendas, if you will, it's very hard to arrive there unless you take the back doors and you do research that run 20 to 30 layers deep outside of formal education to get this understanding. Right. And more importantly, words convey thoughts, concepts. And these concepts turns into imagery and pictograms in your minds. Right. So and remember, when you're using the dead letter language, one word can mean 8 to 15, 20 different things. Right. It's very ambiguous. Right. So it's no wonder there's so much confusion in when we are communicating with each other via this language.
Right. Not to mention business. Like, remember, when you, let's say, sign up for an employment opportunity, quote unquote, you don't even understand via the language that is being used within the contract of you and the employer and employee. And what happens, like, I remember I used to be on a job, people used to be talking about, oh, they can't do that, they can't do that. Be surprised what they can do and what you agreed for them to do. It's like when you get the contract of an update for an iPhone. It's the terms of agreement. Nobody really reads that. They just want the newest app on their phone. They want the instant gratification, and they bypass the words, which literally states that they have 100% access to all of your data via this update, and you agree to it willingly. And this is the interesting thing about words, spelling. Like you said, they create concepts, but concepts are always altered and broken. They're really not written in truth. They're written in what is easy manipulated, or what is manipulated as a tool of manipulation. You get what I'm saying? And this is what happens when we use the dead letter language. This is why, as you said, the defunct United States of America, corporate-wise, has been bankrupt, if you really want to look at it, since the 1800s, since they allegedly, or by their own history, cut ties with England, which we know they didn't. But nevertheless, we continue. Whenever you're a person who's navigating within the corporate United States of America, it's very important to understand that you are constantly engaged in multiple forms of legal contract just by the mere lifestyle of the so-called American citizen, and how everything is related via the contract. A lot of people talk about different types of contracts in the music business and how people get, they get messed up, bad this, bad that. I've been dealing with contracts this entire week, really dissecting and breaking it down. And whenever I read a contract, I look and I always say to myself, but this is subject to change. You know what I'm saying? I was having a conversation with one of my guys, and we were talking about industry standards and how there's really no industry standards. You use words to negotiate what it is that you want. And so by you saying that there's an industry standard, you are trying to impose something on somebody else via the contract or words. There's really no industry standard, because in reality, there's no industry. If it's built upon false and poor contracts, how is there an actual tangible industry? And see, that's the thing with the corporate snakes of America. Everything is based on a false contract, because the whole foundation of the United States is based on a false contract.
And so by the time it reaches you, not understanding that part which he just stated is a big mistake. The whole premise of this is based on a false contract.
Right.
So now what you're trying to establish after the residual effect of the false contract, by default, is going to be incorrect.
Absolutely. There's always going to be a loophole.
Yeah. And of course, in the loophole, they say, well, it's not personal, it's just business when it all goes wrong.
Right.
So then you have that part going on. But, what I tell my son is so important to be able to read as much as you can and to expand your mind and get to understand this language.
Right.
This dead letter language. So you can be able to see through the lies and the deception.
Right. They talk
in these colloquial terms.
They talk about this, and this is so important. Why it's not just important to read, we really understand the definition when using the dead letter language, so that it can't be used against you. Like, you ever been in an argument with your girl, and she'll tell you something, and you're like, but that doesn't even mean that. That's not what the definition of. No, but she took the word and crafted and created it and presented it in a way where it fits her agenda. But see, when you know the definition, you won't allow the fog to be put in front of you, because the ones who are the masters of this dead letter language, or it's very close to mastery, they rule via the contract, via the word.
Via the word, yeah. Whoever gives you your concept of culture, time, words, the words that you use, the language that you use, the linguistical terms, and who gives you definition.
Right.
Definition is to define. It's the ion or the atom of all these things defined by who? By the observer. So the observer now, on the general consensus, is agreed upon that this means this and that means that.
Right.
It's an agreed upon concept.
Right.
So who made words and who created this spell as you spell
Right.
the dead letter language?
And more so, what was the intent when they created it? You see, if I know that you, not saying you,
Yeah.
but the oppressor, the enemy, the forces that control the world, if I know that you have participated in some of the most atrocious things on the planet, I'd go so far as to say in the universe, then why would I actually believe anything that you tell me, including the language in which that was given to me?
Right.
There was a joke, and I forgot the comedian, but he said basically, oh, Paul Mooney said, and I'm gonna paraphrase it, he basically said, Puerto Ricans are niggas that can swim. They're not Spaniards. And then he goes on to say, what language am I speaking? English. Do I look like Queen Elizabeth?
Right.
No.
Right.
So this is an imposed language. Just like a culture that was imposed on us.
Yeah.
When I look at the power of words, I also want to talk a little bit about the power of words, particularly in where I'm at with it, the industry, the music and entertainment industry, and how artistic expression is now being used in the court of law. And so what it does is it creates a different type of artistic expression. Like case in point, a lot of rappers, they'll rap about things that they've never done back in the day, right? And by today's logic, they're literally rapping in an indictment form. By today's logic.
That's fine.
However, back in the day, it would be considered artistic expression. There was a particular law and a couple of laws that were passed that basically sanctioned the courts to use hip-hop lyrics as evidence in trial. I want you to give me your insight, your opinion and position on that. And what does that do for the hip-hop culture that we've grown up into? You always quote rap lines. What if now one of the rap lines you quote leads that artist to an indictment?
It's deep. You know, we tell stories, whether the stories are authentic or not, and the streets will credit you as being a real dude when you do it. You know, once the industry got involved and you know the record labels got involved, this thing went real south. And so at this juncture, we have to be very careful what we rhyming about, because it will be used against you literally, whether you did it or not. And you know, we do it for shock value,
right? And
for attention and for sales. And you know, for the male rappers, we do it because we think this is what the females want to hear, because they love the excitement, the bad boy. I was in a bang out last week, Wednesday in the mall, and then I came and then Saturday we was banging out the club. And so these stories are very graphic, and it's the soap opera of hip hop, telling stories about what you did. The drill music, the Young Chops and from Chirac, you know, they took it to a whole nother level where whoever their ops was, whoever they were beefing with, they would go into details about what they did and then mock the dead after. So the courts are looking at all of these things, because I mean, the Italians mobs, they told on themselves as well, but never to this level, where they're making videos and it's so graphic and you know, very meticulous dissertations of what you did.
Right.
And it will come back to haunt you. So you're speaking, you know, the power of the spoken word, again, is being used against you to incarcerate you.
Right.
I mean, you're already incarcerating yourself by spelling, because as you spell, you're putting yourself under spells, but now you're using it to also incarcerate yourself physically, as well as psychologically. So you got two different incarcerations going on.
Right.
The one you self-inflict,
right,
and the one that the government or the state inflicts.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right. And you know, again, going back to the power of spoken word, I'd say as a culture, it just reveals our dysfunction, because we glorify the words that don't serve us. I'm guilty of it because I'm a rapper. And at the same time, it is a lifestyle. And, you know, for the majority of the things that I say, these are things that are experiences that I share.
Yeah.
However, on the flip side, for those who don't do that, for those who just do it for the shock value, and they don't experience certain things,
right,
and they don't talk about it, and they're just strictly doing it to get attention, they're being rewarded for it heavily.
Yeah.
You just seen the thing with Tekashi 6ix9ine, rewarded heavily. It's almost like the algorithm supports our destruction.
Yeah.
And the minute you try and do something different that goes counter to the destruction, you get taken off of the ability to actually monetize. Like case in point, shout out to Red Pill, shout out to Black Magic, 365. I love their content. Shout out to Blue Pill. Shout out to Urban X Podcast. These are great pieces of content, informative. Get what I'm saying? Shout out to Cambada. But the reality is they don't get the same level of an attention as a Tekashi 6ix9ine. And it's unfortunate, but it's that way by design, because what they say and what they bring to the table via their words are transformative. I don't want to keep it too dark. I want to speak on some of the positive things of words and the power that you have with speaking greatness upon someone, speaking greatness upon yourself. I want you to tap in with that and how that works.
Well, words are so powerful, you can unlock potential in people just by how you frame a word. How you frame it and hang it on the wall and let the observer observe it can change their life drastically.
True.
How you frame it.
How you frame it
and hang it on the wall.
Hang it on the wall.
Linguistical framing, I call it.
For Braille to look at.
Yeah.
Look, Braille.
Yeah.
And walk away.
If I don't frame it correctly and hang it right, he might not get it.
Woo.
So a great teacher understands not how I like to frame it, but how he needs to see it framed.
Right.
So that's how I view students. It's not how I teach. I have to speed up their learning curve based on how they learn.
Right.
So if I have 7, 8 different students, I have to find a way to frame it linguistically and hang it so they all get it simultaneously.
Right, right.
It doesn't matter how I teach. I have to adjust to them. I have to be the water that we spoke about earlier.
Right.
And this is the power of the spoken word, how you frame things. They understand after 1988, 89, Public Enemy, X-Clan, all these different groups, Tribe, when they had positive messages out there and we were all wearing African beads, African bracelets. And once the gangster rap came in, it shifted our mentality and our consciousness all through how it was framed and hung on the wall or in a video. So seeing that created a pictogrammic response internally on a cellular level, and how it says, inner thought and outer expression are the same. They can never be separate from one another. So that hanging of the frame created the inner thought, thus the outer expression became the thuggery. And that been going on since 90, 91, and here we are in 2021 Gregorian calendar style. If we're measuring time and the behaviors of what's been happening during this framage of time since then.
Right.
And I was in middle school when that was happening.
Very impressionable.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if what you're seeing now, and I want to kind of possibly assume. It's almost like what you're seeing now with where we at music-wise as a music culture, not only as a resurgence of what took place during the 90s when gangster rap was infused, but this is like gangster rap on steroids. You know, every week I'm hearing a rapper getting locked up or dying. So, you know, that comes with a career choice. You want to get locked up or dying. If that's the case, you shouldn't be a rapper. And that's where it's leaning toward. You know what I'm saying? I also want to get in terms of, and going back to speaking positive words and how important it is. I think in order for you to really have an impact on speaking powerfully and uplifting is by learning when not to say anything and learning when not to use words and learning to be in a space where you will just allow things to unfurl without any word or verbal judgment on it. And what happens is you allow things to unravel the way that they were, because watch this. You can say something to somebody and mean well and have great intention for that person, but guess what? You said it at the wrong time, and you said it in a way where they made a decision based on what you said. And not to say that that decision will have a negative outcome, but what it did was it altered their perception and it kind of shifted with their original intent and decision making. I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with one of my boys. We were talking about business, and I revealed some information to him, and I told him, this here stays at this table because I don't want you to look at who you're working with in a different light, but I want you to have an understanding that this particular person has a history with another particular person, and that's the reason why the business dealing may appear as there's some friction and it can't get executed. And I told him it's very important that you just allow things to be and rest, because if you go and say what I told you to somebody else, then you will deter that person, but that person may look at it and not even want to complete the project. I told him complete what you started. Then after everything is done, you can get assessment, because everything is a lesson. Get what I'm saying? It's a lesson. So there's really no right or wrong. You can just learn from it. Especially when you're doing things in the realm of business. Obviously, there's codes and commandments with human behavior. There's a right and wrong to that. I'm speaking strictly in terms of business. It's so important that when we talk, we are very mindful with what we say. We have a level of awareness on the physicality of when we're talking and our tone and what comes from that. I want you to speak in terms of tone, words, and intimate relationships with women. And then I'll share something with you. Go ahead, though.
P and C, pitch and cadence, is almost more important than the content that you speak. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the pitch and cadence that you hold as it's being said. The person almost wants to waltz across the floor with your tonality. If they can't waltz, they're like, I don't want that. Even if the content is true. You know, my boy, shout out to my boy Swift. He let me hear content today. Actually sent it to me last night. I listened to it today. It was some young brothers with some great information, but I told him, I said, it's gonna be a little bit hard for me to sit through it. I'm gonna sit through it because you sent it.
Right.
But their pitch cadence dissertation has to improve.
Right.
Because we all want to be hypnotized by the messenger, and then we devil into the message.
Right.
It's just this avatar likes to be soothed and the melody and how it was said, and then we'll deal with what was said. So it's especially women. Women listen with their emotions. So even if what you're saying to her is correct, but how you saying it is a little aggressive, we're not even going to deal with the original topic. It's going to deal with this tone that you got right now. Your pitch and cadence is wrong, and I don't care about what you said. No, we're gonna deal with this.
Right.
But men be doing it too.
Right.
Even if they're not effeminized, man. It's just something about this avatar. It likes the pitch and cadence to be in a certain manner for it to come along and waltz along with it.
Right.
And you fall under a state of hypnosis.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. I agree with you, and I want to build it up, break it down, dissect, and unpack it. When we're dealing with the polar opposite of the species of man, we're dealing with women. Women, they operate on a particular rhythm that's in sync with the universe, and man operates in a particular rhythm which is aligned with the universe. This is how we operate when we're untampered with. But unfortunately, we've been tampered with. That's why nowadays, for the most part, women are not used to hearing men with a direct tone, and they immediately get offense to it. I'll give you a case in point.
Go ahead.
I'm talking to my significant other in regards to, and what I mean by significant other is we share a child together.
Go ahead.
And she said something, and I explained to her very carefully. I said, listen, you have to be very mindful with your tonality, because if you were a man, the outcome would be different. Because there's a low level of violence to a high level of violence that exists there. I think nowadays with relationships in general, women have used, unfortunately, I'm talking black relationships, they've used this ideology of I'm strong, I'm independent, I compete with men, to therefore bypass their soft-spoken natural essence of femininity. And so now when you hear most women, they talk like men. Like, excuse my language, I heard a girl say, yo, suck my dick. I said, okay. She ain't saying it to me, but I heard it. You know, and it's just, the tonality is so masculine. You know what I'm saying? And that comes directly with the targeted effeminization that's been delivered upon us, and the targeted masculation that's been projected upon them, particularly within our culture. When we talk about tonality, going back to, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because we speak in a dead language, the tone is the life of the dead language. That's how our ancestors communicated. You know, they make jokes all the time about African people going and all of this other. When they talk, they're speaking in terms of tone, pitch. It's almost like you're playing music when you talk. In Islam, if you listen to the music, it's like a different kind of flow, a different type of cadence, and it's centered around tonality. So the average person may hear it and say, wow, that sounds like gibberish. No, they're going in terms of tonality. When they do the call to prayer and all of these different things. The English language has cutoff points, past and present, which automatically puts it, from a metaphysical level, a dead language. Because if you have a past, not a past and present, a past and a future. There's no present moment. So past is past tense. Future is illusionary. They're both illusionary. The only moment that you have is present. In the dead letter language, English language, is rooted in present talk and future talk. I'm gonna slap you. That's saying I'm gonna do something to the future. Yo, remember little homie back there? And so we never really get to the present moment with the English language. The only real way that we get to living in the present moment is through tone.
I always explain to Rell about pitch and cadence. When you listen to an artist, their pitch and cadence will determine whether you go like this immediately, or you be like, the cells is looking to be hypnotized by the pitch and cadence.
Right.
Speaking to your point with our sisters, I had an epiphany 2 weeks ago, and I said, our sisters have literally been robbed of being feminine.
Yep.
Because to survive the hood, you have to have hard energy. It's masculine dominated.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not protected. The father's not there, or they just in a terrible situation. And what happens is, for me, I like soft energy.
Right.
Let me be clear. I want a woman to be soft. Soft does not mean weak. It just means my compatible opposite, my helpmeet.
Right.
Masculine. If she has masculine energy, it represents my diametric opposite.
Right. You repel.
I repel. I can't work with that. And I'm not going. If I'm being truthful, you take on the expression of the environment that you're in. And when this system created this ghetto for us, it's full of that domineering masculine energy. You have to have it to survive. So a lot of our sisters really didn't have a chance to be feminine, if I'm being honest. And so her tonality when she's talking to you is very combative. And the environment is combative, so everybody's gonna be combative.
Yep.
But I can't be in a relationship with I'm already combative because I have to combat this world.
Right.
So when I come home, I don't want to be dealing with more combative ideology, behaviorisms.
Right. Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. Totally understood.
But I understand why she's the way she is.
Right.
But I also understand how she got that way.
Right.
It's not organic for her to behave like
Right.
that,
She's
but it's
opportunity.
necessary.
Right. Well,
Go ahead.
well, and I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
no.
It's not even necessary.
Yeah.
It's a false sense of power.
Yes.
See, when women own their femininity, they have the ability of influence over a man that far supersedes a combative woman.
That's a fact.
That's why I told my significant other in regards to me raising my daughter, I said, you can get anything that you would require from me for the sake of the daughter, but you cannot talk to me as if you're a man. Especially when there's confrontation.
Yeah.
You must find your femininity because you cannot stand tall and go toe to toe with my manhood. You are out of sync. No matter how hard you try, you ain't the real thing. And you know, that's the key thing. And before we check out, I want everybody to really mind their words, mind their tonality, mean what you say what you mean. And if you give somebody your word is bond. On that note, closing remarks. I'll let you finish off, big bro.
The wordsmith doesn't sharpen the word, but the word sharpens the wordsmith based on how it's framed and hung. So the wordsmith is the observer as it's listening to the words and being either hypnotized or what the hell are you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? And I'll end on that note. That's how powerful the spoken word is.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, I want to thank my guest, Eternal Us. I want to again encourage people to like, comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed the content, please share. Make sure you check out Eternal Bilal's platform on YouTube. We're working on a lot of great things behind the scenes. And we just kind of want to invite you to these builds that we do. This is not a one-time thing. You will be seeing Eternal way more. Again, I want you to go check him out. Please send your platforms, and then we're going to sign off. Where can they find you, big brother?
You can go on YouTube and just type in Eternal, E-T-E-R-N-A-L, Bilal, B-I-L-A-L, and it'll pop right up.
There you go. Again, signing off. It's the Rell Excel Live Show. Greatly appreciated. Make sure that you guys tune in for the next episode. We got some more things coming in store. Peace.